or not tonight. But I am going to ask that regardless of what happens, that one provision of the ACA, and I'd like to hear you commit to support this, and that is the condition of pre-existing I want everybody to hear this. Here's what it says. It's two sentences. No insurance plan can reject you, charge you more, or refuse you to pay for essential health benefits for any condition you had before your coverage started. There shall also be no lifetime limits placed upon your coverage. Yeah. I consider myself an expert in this field. I am also a cancer survivor. I am scared that I will not have health insurance in the future. I have worked my whole life. I've paid into the healthcare system. I paid into Medicare. I don't know if there's going to be a Medicare. They're talking about using risk pools as a bailout. Risk pools have been around for 35 years. And the reason they've been around for 35 years is because they've come and they've gone and they've come and they've gone. And the reason they go is because they fail, because they don't work, because there's adverse selection, because all the sick people end up in one place and no one can afford that. So risk pools are a horrible idea. And taking away the protection of people who have already suffered, the children who have diseases, the elderly who desperately need help, to take away that one provision that protects them because they had a from insurance companies, putting the insurance companies back in charge is wrong. Allowing people to preserve that one protection within the ACA assures that they have a right to buy insurance and have
We need to find ways to handle this issue, not at the federal level, not through that There are ways to do it. There are ways to provide coverage for catastrophic situations.
Answer the question.
I am answering the question. I said I would not support that provision.
You will not.
Boom!
I can't believe it.
Why not? Because healthcare, you must find a way to reduce healthcare costs for all Americans. And what you are doing
Medicare for all.
Shifting the cost of care. You are not reducing the cost of care. You can make healthcare cost less for everyone, all Americans, including for people who have serious conditions. But you cannot do it.
But they'll be refused coverage if you don't put that.
I'm sorry. I have to look around because I have people in the back who I don't see. Yeah, ma'am. Yes. Go ahead.
Louise from Grand Rapids. Will you use your congressional power to obtain the president's tax return?
I'm very concerned about potential conflicts of interest, as I've said all along.
Woo!
And I do think that we have to find a way to ensure that there is no conflict of interest that may include demanding tax returns. There may be another way to do it, but if there's not, I would absolutely do that.
What are you doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, yep, go ahead.
What are we doing about the connections to Russia?
So that's another area where I have serious concerns, and I think that the oversight committee that I'm on should investigate that, but also the intelligence committee. The intelligence committee has the primary jurisdiction over some of those issues because it deals with classified information, and there are continuing investigations. So the issue is making sure that our intelligence community has the opportunity to do their job. Because we don't have the information, and then that information would go to the intelligence committee. It's possible with the previous woman's question and your question, it's possible that the oversight committee that I'm on would have some jurisdiction there. But we won't have the same ability to review things that the intelligence committee has. I can request some of those things, but they may not give me access to it. Even though I'm constitutionally authorized to have access. Sorry.
Will you commit to making as much information public as possible so that we, as just mere citizens, understand what happened?
Yes. Yes.
Woo!
We have to take turns in here, though. I hate to have people. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
My name is Fred. I'm from Clarksville. I have more of a comment than a question.
Yes.
And I guess I'd like your response after I make my comments.
Yes. You don't like my corduroys?
And I'll also say that my comments are based on perception more than they are fact. I don't really know what I'm about to say is true. Okay?
I'll just go for it.
Go ahead.
What the heck? It's 2017, right?
Woo!
Earlier, I believe you said that if we see our congressmen, voting a certain way, it's because their constituents wanted them to vote that way. Did I hear you say that?
I said if they're partisan in their rhetoric, it is very likely because their constituents are also fairly partisan. And it's true. I mean, just go to the MLive comments sometime. Sorry, MLive. Yes.
Okay. My perception is, and I base it somewhat on how some of these secretaries got voted in. Maybe the Secretary of Education. It seems like they're being voted in, and this is again perception, based on who funds their campaign.
Yeah! Woo! Woo! Yeah! Woo!
I don't have any bone to pick with Betsy DeVos. I truly don't. That family has donated a lot of money to our community.
That part's
actually,
true.
I think she's incompetent for that job.
Woo!
So, and I don't mean it badly against her. So.
Well,
So campaign finance reform. Go.
is there a question?
Could you tell us, and this is going to come off the top of my head, how much money do Dick and Betsy DeVos give you for yours?
Woo! Woo! Tell us!
No, the reason
Transparency, please.
Yeah.
maybe this is the silent majority, the silent people who have not come to your town hall, who have not given a hoot because they're waiting for you. But those people, like the DeVosses, have got a platform and they have an agenda. And you're following it when you say, no, I'm not going to support that. You're not going to go this way. Is it because that's what they're paying you for?
Woo! Tell us.
Okay. Well. All right. So, I mean, it's like a half allegation or something, right? But so, I don't know if you wanted me to calculate. I don't know how much particular people contribute to me over.
Guess.
So, it is important to know that the contribution limits are the same. There is a the limit is 5,000.
Citizens United.
The limit is 5,000. The limit is 5,400 per person. That's it. They can't get more than that. Now that's a lot.
What? Their foundation. What about their foundation?
Campaigns, most political campaigns for Congress now are in the millions of dollars. So the $5,400 is not millions of dollars. So I want to make sure that that's clear to people. Also, I receive the least amount of PAC money, so special interest money, of almost anyone in Congress.
Woo! How much?
Almost nothing.
How much?
Most of, and you can find out, you can read all this stuff is publicly filed, so you can see for yourselves.
We
But
will.
If you compared my campaign finance reports to, say, some of my colleagues, it would look like we have different jobs, because my contributions are almost all individual contributions, and many of them are small dollar contributions from people throughout the district, throughout Michigan, even throughout the country. And a lot of my colleagues receive most of their money from PACs and other interest groups. You don't have, if there's an election for me, you don't have many outside groups who are out to help me. They're trying to hurt me. The last time I was at the Chamber of Commerce tried to remove me. Yes. Yes.
In the obvious West Michigan Republican domain, how did you get elected then? I don't know.
How did I get elected? Well, people like me. I mean, people like me. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. So, they find me charming or handsome. I don't know what it is. But whatever the case, I've always been very independent. If you think that Republicans in D.C. are in love with me, they're not. They try to remove me just about every chance they get.
As an independent.
Cool.
So being as independent as I am does not make things easier for me. It makes it more difficult for me. I'm not saying this stuff here about the president's executive order and other things because it helps me in my district. It doesn't. So the reality is, I am doing what I think is right. Many of these donors you're talking about, I mean, you mentioned bigger donors. If you think they're always happy with me, you're mistaken. They're frequently not happy with me. So I guarantee you my big donors are less happy with me than other people's big donors are.
Who are your big donors?
So yes. Go ahead. What? Would I run for president? If you guys want, would you?
No, boo.
Secret ballot.
Secret ballot, yes.
Let the
It is a secret ballot. Yes. Yeah. So, okay, I mean, I do think we need something different from what we've had for president, on both sides. I think that it hasn't worked out. It has not worked out. And you need people who are more independent and who are going to be more respectable. And, you know, I don't think we have that right now. So, yes, next question. I have to go. I can barely see back there. The guy waving in the corner, yes. Yeah, sure. We just had a woman speaking. So, I mean, come on. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm Mallory Eby from East Michigan. I work for an intermediate school district. Not happy, nor are the educators that I know with the Betsy DeVos situation. Explain to me so I can take it back to my community. What was on Betsy DeVos's resume or into that persuaded you that she was qualified for that position?
You didn't go for her.
He didn't practically endorsed her.
She has been active on education issues for a long time. The notion that only people of particular educational backgrounds are eligible to be involved in public service is wrong. So it is good to have a diversity of thought.
Oh my
And
God.
I think that
No.
she'll do a good job of reaching out.
Minority next. Who's a minority?
Are there any?
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
An American question!
Yeah, I'll go to you, the person next, but I'll go to her.
Just
Yes,
start
go ahead.
talking, girl.
I have a question wrapped in the statement, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I hear.
Sorry, what is your name?
I'm sorry, I'm Brianna from Grand Rapids. I live in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
The question that I have is, I do a lot of work with various communities within this community, and one concern that's consistent is we get calls from parents about children of color being harassed in schools. There's an uptick in hate crime across the United States. And one of the questions that I have is, what are our congressmen and women doing to address what is a very real threat to people of color living in the United States?
And minorities.
US residents. What work is being done to protect people that feel right now in this moment unprotected?
From a civil liberties standpoint, an equal protection standpoint, I've been very outspoken on this issue many times, especially with respect to some of the confrontations with police that have occurred over the years. So I think that we need to make sure that everyone in this country is being treated equally under the law, is being treated fairly, that we don't have any discrimination coming from government. As for how schools handle their bullying policies and other things, that is a school issue and a state level issue, of course, not a federal issue. But yes, Clara.
So my question is, a lot of what's happening in these schools are things kids are observing, your colleagues are doing.
Yeah.
And so how are you holding your colleagues who are
Oh, yeah.
developing language that is divisive and that is very aggressive and impacts?
Yes, I agree. So the question is, how am I holding my colleagues accountable on some of the language that's used, and some of the language that's used, and also some of the actions and other things. Well, I absolutely do on a daily basis have conversations with my colleagues about a variety of issues, not just with respect to African Americans, but with respect to immigrants and many others, Muslims, who are, I think, often used as scapegoats and mistreated. And I have those conversations. Many of them are in private, of course, with my colleagues. But I've also been public in calling people out when I thought they did something wrong. Especially some of the comments that our president has made over the...
Woo! Woo! Woo!
I'll continue to do that when President Trump, he wasn't president yet, but he was going after John Lewis repeatedly. I thought he crossed the line and went too far. Now, John Lewis, a man I respect and admire, and have worked with on legislation, important legislation to protect people's rights. We've worked on that together. I think he went too far in saying that President Trump was illegitimate. I think that went too far and should not have been said. But the president responded. The president, who's the president-elect at the time, responded in the wrong way. I think that he should have found a way to reach out to John Lewis and try to meet, try to rectify the situation, try to have an understanding, try to find ways to move forward together, to work together. I especially didn't appreciate some of the insinuation he made in his tweets. That's what really bothered me. I was just having dinner that night at home, and I saw his tweet about John Lewis and how Atlanta's. He suggested that Atlanta's like crime-ridden and falling apart and all that. And I thought that bordered on a stereotype and was not appropriate. So
Bordered?
He wasn't explicit in what he said, but he did say it was crime infested, and I thought that went too far, and that's why I spoke out. So the question is reaching out to constituents of color. I don't know if we have a representative from the NAACP here, but I have been reaching out to the NAACP on a regular basis. We've had the people from the NAACP do live here. Do we have it? So they are everyday people as well. So I've been reaching out to people. I've been reaching out to people in my community, whether it's people from the Hispanic community, the African American community. I've been making sure that I'm available. I've attended events with them. I have suggested meetings, town hall meetings and others with people of those communities to make sure that we have more communication. I do agree, and it's been a concern. I actually raised this with the leaders of the NAACP, the local NAACP, that we need to have more interaction, because when we hold these town halls, I don't think it's representative of the community. The city of Grand Rapids has an African American population of something like 20%. And we certainly do not have that here in this crowd or at any of my town halls. So we do need to find ways, and a Hispanic population of probably 50, I don't know what it is exactly, but maybe around 20% as well. So we do need to make sure that those communities are being reached out to and do feel like they're part of this process.
We have time
And
for
I absolutely have been reaching out and doing that.
We have time for just a few more questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Pat, serious concerns about our environment.
Woo!
Am I understanding correctly that you're in favor of abolishing the Environmental Protection Agency?
Boo!
So that's not my position.
Okay, woo!
Now, it does overreach in many areas.
How will you commit on a national level to protecting the environment? Because there are no state lines when it comes to air, water, and land.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
So with respect to regulations that do affect interstate issues, I agree with you that there is a role there. But the EPA has often overreached into things that are purely local. And that's where we have problems. And
Will the EPA say though, you are not in favor of abolishing it.
I've never said that I'm in favor of abolishing it. I've said that it does overreach.
Where appropriate, will you help strengthen it? If it has to do with people getting asthma because they can't breathe, or when they wash, people don't have water to drink, it won't poison them. That's what we want.
Where appropriate, yes. All right, do I? What happened to all the men? I thought we were-
Answer from AP Government Affairs. Tax update.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
This is a nonpartisan issue about fair election. After the 2000 election, where there was contested ballots in Florida and so on, Congress set up the Election Assistance Commission. There's been a bill introduced recently in the House, I believe, to abolish the Election Assistance Commission. Under our current concerns about the fairness of elections, what is your position on the Election Assistance Commission?
So the question is about the Election Assistance Commission.
Thank you.
I don't know much about the Election Assistance Commission. So I have heard that there is a bill that's been introduced related to it, or some piece of legislation. I don't even know if it's a bill, but some piece of legislation. And it has gone through some committee. But I don't believe we've had any votes on that on the House floor. So
There'll be a recommendation to abolish it.
yeah.
I
So
hope you don't vote for that.
thanks. I will take a look at that. I don't know what it entails, but I will definitely take that very seriously. Yes. So some student. Yep. I was going to ask one of these students. So you guys can decide.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll do it. I have a question. Hi.
Are you related? Are you connected to these students?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll ask. Go ahead.
I had a question. I'm Holly. I'm from Coopersville, and I had a question about your stance on charter schools, because I know that they don't, like, we've been told that they don't really work, and I was just curious about how you feel about that, because I feel that it's wrong for the people who are running the charter schools to take money away that could be going to the students and the teachers. Woo! So I'm just curious, like, are you for charter schools, against them?
So the question is about charter schools.
Yeah.
And yes, I do support charter schools.
Boo!
I think the more variety we can have in education, the more competition we can have in education, the better education.
Boo!
So I do support charter schools.
There are winners and losers in
Yes.
competition.
Justin, I know everybody wants their Social Security money. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for being one of the few representatives that actually follow your oath to protect and defend the Constitution. So everybody wants their Social Security money, and I understand that, but I wonder, we're $20 trillion in debt and spending our children's money, our grandchildren's money, our great-grandchildren's money. Do they have a right to their money too, or is that a problem?
Yeah, thanks for the question. That's a great question. Yes, that is a major problem we have. The question is about our $20 trillion debt and our children and grandchildren. And it is absolutely a problem for them that we have a $20 trillion debt. That people are not thinking about the next generation. And both, again, I heard a thank you, Bush, but both parties have been responsible for this. The debt has increased under both parties. And I guarantee you, it's going to keep increasing under the current government, and it will continue under a Democratic government as well, unless we work together to balance the budget, to find ways to balance it over a period of time. My suggestion would be to balance it over a 10-year period. You can't balance it overnight. But have
Woo! Woo! Tax the rich!
to require the parties to negotiate toward a balance. Nothing should be taken off the table. But, you know, when I hear things like just raise taxes on the wealthy, you should know that that will not resolve the problem. There are not enough resources to pay off the debt that way or to reduce the deficit. It will not work that way.
That's a BS answer.
It's not, it's mathematically correct. So I believe in science and math. And denying math is not okay. So the math works out very clearly. You cannot raise taxes enough on the wealthy to pay off the deficit. You have to work together. Sir, you'll have to stay quiet while we do this. I mean, we can't just be shouting during the town hall. So,
One more question.
so we have to work together to find ways to reduce spending. But the only way to do that is to deal with the 4 largest programs in the government and find ways to reduce the cost over time. The 4 largest programs that make up the majority of our budget are Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and military spending. Now, military spending is something that I have encouraged Republicans to be careful about, to find ways to reduce spending.
Woo!
I have voted to keep military spending in check because I know, first of all, that there's a lot of waste in the Department of Defense, but also because if you want to compromise with people, if you want to negotiate with people, you have to put something forward yourselves. And so I have encouraged Republicans to say that we are willing to negotiate on that point in order to reform other areas of government. But that's how it has to work. If I have Republicans all saying, we have to reform these things, but don't touch military spending, and if I have Democrats saying, cut just military spending and tax the wealthy, but don't touch anything else, we will not resolve the problem. You will not get the budget deficit under control. You will not end the debt. And this debt is going to come back to haunt our children and grandchildren. At some point, you will have a debt crisis, and you'll have massive inflation. You'll have especially low-income people who are hurt in a debt crisis. So we have to deal with that now. We have to address it now. And I proposed a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution to require this kind of balance over a 10-year period, phased in. And I'd love to describe it sometime, but since we're running out of time, I won't here. But, yes, go ahead.
Megan Sutton from Grand Rapids. This is another question on HR 899.
Yes.
First, I'd like to really quickly clarify something you said earlier, which was that federal money makes up approximately 10% of the dollars that we see go to education. It's important to understand that that's not equal across all children. This number comes from the Michigan Education Finance Study that was conducted last year by an independent consulting firm. For economically disadvantaged students in Michigan, on average, 35% of their educational funding comes from the federal government, from sources such as Title I funds. My question is a lot more specific, though. I think we can all agree that bureaucracy moves very slowly, whether it's at the federal, state, or local level. So with less than 2 years before the proposed deadline to completely eliminate the U.S. Department of Education and no plan in place for what happens after, it's a virtual certainty that this would cause massive disruptions to the education of current students in both traditional public and charter schools in our state. How would you respond to parents whose children will be in school during this time of great upheaval, but will be out of the system by graduating or dropping out by the time any substantive changes actually come down the line?
So to address your first point was that a higher percentage of the funding goes to people who have special needs.
No, just to clarify,
Yes.
it's that students with special needs, particularly special education, career tech ed students, or economically disadvantaged students,
Yeah.
more of what their
Yes.
money goes towards.
Right, I understand. I just want to make sure it's clear. So you're saying a higher percentage of that federal money will go to people with special needs, right?
Yes, but it's also the reverse is true.
So-
People rely on the federal funding more
Yes.
than the state money.
But nothing prevents the state of Michigan or any other state from using their tax dollars for the same thing. There's no
The government
reason
does.
that the federal government can't reduce tax revenues by the same amount as the other states raise tax revenues. So the state of Michigan could increase taxes to pay for the same program. But it would have the benefit would be that more money would actually go to the students, because you would not send it to Washington, which is simply another barrier to having it come back here. You're just adding another restriction on the funds. You're changing things up in Washington. You're sending it. You're paying federal bureaucrats, thousands of people in the Department of Education, U.S. Department of Education, and then you're sending it back home, and it doesn't make sense. I think the state of Michigan could move very quickly to replicate these programs within the next couple of years. So, you have power to influence the state of Michigan, just like you have power to influence the federal government.
Not
more
right
power
now,
because
it's
they're
very
closer to home. When you have your representation in Congress, you will have one representative and 2 senators. But at the state level, you have many more representatives in the area here. And you also have many more state senators in the area here. So you have the ability to influence them, and just like you have the ability to influence me or Senator Peters or Senator Stabenow. So the issue is that the state of Michigan could cover it more effectively than the federal government could at a lower cost. And there's no reason it shouldn't. There's no reason it shouldn't do the same thing. If that's something that the people of Michigan desire, there's no reason it can't be done.
So are you saying that the funding will be reduced by the amount that would ordinarily go to the Department of Education?
I'm saying they should. The question was, should federal taxes be reduced by the amount that would go to the U.S. Department of Education? Yes, they should be.
But you can't guarantee
Yes.
that's going to happen.
Well, can I guarantee that the federal government will do anything? No, I can't. Nor can I guarantee that the state government can do anything. But we also don't know anything else the federal government will do. So the question is, do we know what the federal government will do? We don't know. We don't know what the state government will do either. But that's not. I mean, we can't operate governments that way, where we just worry constantly about will this government absolutely do it or not? I mean, we have a system that was designed by the framers to work in a way that was beneficial to the people. It was supposed to give you control in local areas by leaving those things, the things that are close to home, to local governments, and keeping things that are broader, like national defense, at the federal level. That's how it's supposed to work, so that you get the most bang for your buck, and also so you are best represented. Yes. Yep.
Good evening. My name is Elisa. I'm a social worker. I represent a few communities in Grand Rapids. The first one is the Latino community. The second one, the LGBTQ community. The third one is the migrant community. And I don't really have a question for you. I have a suggestion. You were asking, how can we get more involved, right? Have you ever thought about coming to our communities?
I have. Woo! I have visited with your community. Yes.
Do you know where we go to eat? Do you know what we eat?
Well, I mean, that's getting kind of specific. I mean, do I know where you eat? No. I mean.
Community, do you know what type of food we eat? Do you know our neighborhood? Because that will help you get closer to us. If you show, and this is for any politician, not only for you, but if you show interest in us, because we want to be involved in politics. I want to be involved in politics. But you must do those things.
Yeah,
We have to show that you care for our communities, even for also the LGBT community. We don't see any representation, and I'm here to speak on behalf of all these vulnerable populations as social worker. I'm a community social worker, and I see a lot of injustices that have been done to these communities due to being who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to be involved in politics because this is affecting us. I'm a Latina woman, and plus I'm LGBT and migrant. I have a lot of barriers, and I feel alone sometimes.
I know that I got power, I got my voice, and I think that I will do it. I will make an impact in this world.
Woo! 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 Woo!
We just need your support.
Yes.
We just need you to be there. We just need you there. We just need your support. We just need you.
I want to thank you for coming here and for speaking up. I mean, it takes courage to come here and speak up and to do that. So I absolutely have been trying to engage more, to reach out more, and I hope that the communities in our district, whether it's the Latino community or the African American community or other communities, will reach out to me and invite me to events. I'm happy to come and meet with people and learn. My parents are both immigrants, so I understand the life of an immigrant family, even if
What are you doing
I was
to
born
preserve
here
DACA?
in
What are you
Grand
going to do
Rapids.
to preserve DACA?
I'm sorry, but we're pretty much out of time. We have some restraints with the
Are you
venue.
going to preserve DACA?
So the question is about DACA. So the way that President Obama handled it was ruled to be outside of his power. It was executive overreach. I do think that we need to do something to protect children who were brought here when they were young, who are not themselves responsible for having broken the law. So I do think that we need to find some way to address that. I don't think we should. I don't think that we should send a young adult who came here at 2 years old, send them back to a country that they don't know anything about, where they don't know anyone. I think that we need to make sure we find a way to address that. But it should be handled legislatively, not through executive order. It should be handled through Congress. And I hope that Congress can find a way to address that. So, okay. I got one. Okay, I'll go with this guy.
One more.
This guy.
One more.
I'm from that Hispanic community.
Yes.
I want to know when you're going to visit because it doesn't look like any other area of the city. So when you go to Martin Luther King Park, you see pools, basketball courts, and tracks and fields. Not far from here is Briggs, Aberdeen. When you go to the west side, you're familiar with that. There's nothing like that in the Latin Hispanic community. The children can't go out and even go to a park and play basketball, let alone run on a track and field. So if you've been to our communities, how come you haven't addressed that? That's been like that since the time of the question.
So how come you, I'm sorry. I've been very outspoken. I've been very outspoken on the concerns of immigrants in our community. I'm just about the only Republican in Congress who's been pushing back on the executive order.
Why does the Latin Hispanic community look so much more different? And when we go to the city council meetings, we don't see Latinos up there.
Yeah.
We see the ACL and NAACP saying hire blacks, but we never hear or see the Latinos.
We are contributing.
Well, I mean, I don't know where you're going with your statement or question, but all I'm saying is, yeah, we should be welcoming to all people. We should be welcoming to all people and find ways to encourage integration of everyone in the community. I believe. Yeah. So I understand we have. Yes, I understand we have different areas of the community that look different, and we should find ways to live together and work together and understand each other. And I support.
I know I'm Hispanic, but our children are suffering the most. It's a city issue.
Especially our immigrants who are suffering
I
right now.
don't think we should get into who's suffering the most and who's not suffering the most. I understand that there are a lot of people suffering and a lot of people concerned. But yeah, I understand your concerns. But we are well beyond time. So we're going to have to wrap it up.
Woo! Woo! Thank you.
And we'll continue to do these. And thank you for making this a part of your day and for encouraging others to attend as well. We're doing this in our community. Thanks.